Have a connection here. Excited about our word up. I'm always excited about our word up, but let me make sure that we are on the right place and that we're good to go. Until we got to get it down, we won't know for sure, but we're just making sure that we are in the right place, you guys. I do see that it's showing me live. That is really good. Let me get logged on. Welcome you guys to the word up. I'm excited about our word up. Those of you that are joining me on YouTube and those that are joining me today on the Casey-Arnold page. Excited. Let's see here. I want to make sure that I am connecting this right. Let's see here. Just going to give everybody a chance to log on with us here. Good morning. Good morning, Dina. Good morning, Jacqueline. Going to put this over here real quick like I normally do as we get ready to do our Friday word up. You know, get really excited about you guys that join me on Friday. I think that is awesome. And then of course, I'm really excited to see all of you guys, and I'm just going to lift this up a little bit. All of you guys that join me over the few days from the time that we broadcast. I cannot tell you that I just love that you guys not only get fed from it, but that you guys share it as well. Again, welcome, 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 you guys. Good morning, Christy. So glad you've joined. Good morning, Q. Happy anniversary to you. It's our anniversary today. And so needed to make sure the Colonel got fed. That's the first thing you do on an anniversary. You got to sit and wait for him to get food, or it's just not going to be a good morning, you guys. Good morning, good morning, good morning. Just going to wait another minute. I'm going to go ahead and get my timer started here to make sure that we are doing our times correctly. Again, good morning, you guys. If you are joining me on YouTube, please make sure that you share this. If you are joining me on the Casey-Arnold page, please make sure you share it as well, as we are going to be diving in today to our word up. And I'm going to sit here and tell you, I think the Lord has us in a season right now because as I went into prayer last night and just said, Lord, what do you want me to share? What's on your heart? What do you want me to bear fruit in? I feel like we're in this like place with him because all the word ups have kind of been similar. But each one of them is a piece of one big message. And today, it is just, to me, you'll see what I'm talking about. It just connects the dots as we're going to be diving into 1 Kings chapter 1, you guys. We're going to be going 1 Kings chapter 1. So again, welcome everybody. Welcome, Will. So glad that you're here with me. Good morning, good morning, good morning. Okay, I'm going to adjust one thing here because I see one of these things. I don't want it to get it in the view. I just can't tell as I'm doing this, what side is it on? I think it's on this side. So hopefully that works a little bit better. Try not to get all of my lights that I have to have because of the big windows. You got to have more lights. And so I want to make sure we get everything situated. There we go. Looks like I did. Looks like I did. Awesome. Awesome. You guys, welcome so much if you join me today. Hey, good morning, Auntie Lisa. You know, I got to call you Auntie Lisa, but good morning, Lisa. So glad that you've joined me, you guys. We're going to be diving into 1 Kings chapter 1. I'm going to wait about 20 more seconds and we're going to dive in, you guys. Good morning, good morning. If you join me, please share immediately. Those that are on YouTube, make sure you share this. And those that are joining me on the Casey-Arnold page, please make sure you share this as well. This is going to be a great message. Matter of fact, I better put my coffee on the floor because I'm going to get so excited I'm going to knock it over. I know me. This is my kind of message. They've all been my kind of messages. The Lord's kind of had me in a season of, let me just give my daughter something that she's going to have fun with. I really appreciate when Dad does that. But I know some challenges are going to be coming up, some things that I'm going to have to say and go over that y'all are just going to have to pray for me. Good morning, Sister Sonia. What's up, Sister Sonia? Welcome. So glad you're here. Georgia, good morning, good morning, good morning. So glad you guys have joined me, you guys, as we're going to be diving into 1 Kings chapter 1. Again, every Friday morning, I'll try to come on about 8:30 a.m., 8:45-ish. That's Central Standard Time. So, of course, if it's East Coast, just move that further ahead an hour. So that'll be 9:30 a.m., 9:45. And, of course, those of you who are on the Pacific Coast, because I even have clients out there, it's going to be about 2 hours prior to that, which is going to be 6:30 a.m., 6:45 a.m. But you Californians wake up early. Y'all get after it. So with that, you guys, let's go ahead and get started. Again, either use your Bible app, or if you want to just listen on. Pastor Irvin, welcome. So glad you're here. You can just listen along and go. And again, as I say before, always take what I bring, go read it for yourself, because the Lord will speak to you directly and even bring to you what he has for you. And always, you guys, test the spirit. That means don't just take what you hear, those of us that come and move forward in faith with the Lord. Always go and read it yourself, because it may be that the Lord's leading you to that chapter, but he's got something different to say to you specifically as to what's going on in your life, okay? So again, we're going to dive in. Again, this, you guys, I'm going to say it every single time. This is the word. The word is truth. It is not false. This is history. This is a biography. This is something that withstands time, that the word today, as good as it was yesterday, is for me today, to bless me today, and to allow me to have a relationship with our Father, Jesus Christ, and allow him to guide me, to love me, to instill in me, empower me, and as we're going to talk about today, to even give me the strategy to even know that when there's challenges because of who we are, that the Lord has our back, and what he has written for me, it is written, which means it is done, you guys. And so, amen. Here we go. We're going to go ahead and dive in, you guys, to 1 Kings chapter 1. Okay, it says, when King David was very old, he could not keep warm, even when they put covers on him. So his attendant said to him, let us look for a young virgin to serve the king and take care of him. She can lie beside him so that our Lord, the king, may keep warm. Then they searched throughout Israel for a beautiful young woman and found Abishag, a Shunammite, and brought her to the king. The woman was very beautiful. She took care of the king and waited on him, but the king had no sexual relationships with her. Now Adonijah, who is his son and whose mother was Haggith, put himself forward and said, I will be king. So he got chariots and horses ready with 50 men to run ahead of him. His father never rebuked him by saying, why do you behave as you do? You know, I'm going to sit here and say this real quick. David really has a problem with dealing with his sons, right? Getting his kids in check. He just lets them do anything. Again, that's a whole other message. We're going to keep going here. Now, it says that Adonijah was also very handsome and was born after Absalom. And remember, Absalom's the one we talked about just 2 weeks ago. Like I said, the Lord's keeping us in a season. That's his other son who tried to take David's crown. Okay, so here's his other son, Adonijah, trying to take the crown. Okay, so as we continue in 7, Adonijah conferred with Joab, son of Zeruiah, and with Abiathar the priest, and they gave him their support. But Zadok the priest, Benaiah son of Jehoiada, Nathan the prophet, Shimei, and Ray and David's special guards did not join Adonijah. Adonijah then sacrificed sheep, cattle, and fattened calves at the stone of Zoth near En Rogel. He invited all his brothers, the king's sons, and all the royal officers and the officials of Judah, but he did not invite Nathan the prophet, Benaiah, or the special guards, or his brother Solomon. Then Nathan asked Bathsheba, Solomon's mother, have you not heard that Adonijah, David's son, the son of Haggith, has become king, and our Lord David knows nothing about it? Now then, let me advise you, Bathsheba, on how you can save your life and the life of your own son Solomon. I'm going to pause here because Solomon was the one destined to receive the crown. Adonijah was trying to take it. And this is where Nathan knew, which is why he approached Bathsheba, that if you don't do something, you're going to be killed. If he gets that crown, you think he's going to let you guys live knowing what we know? There's no way. So we need to protect your life. So it continues in 13. Go in to King David and say to him, my lord the king, did you not swear to me, your servant Bathsheba? Surely my son Solomon shall be king, after you, Lord, and that he will sit on your throne? Why then has Adonijah become king? While you are still there talking to the king, I will come in right after you, Bathsheba, and I will add my words to what you have said. So Bathsheba went to see the aged king in his room, where Abishag the Shunammite was attending him. Bathsheba bowed down and prostrated herself before the king. What is it that you want? King David asked. She said to him, my lord, you yourself swore to me, your servant, by the Lord your God, Solomon, your son, shall be king after you, and that he will sit on your throne. But now Adonijah has become king, and you, my lord the king, do not even know about it. He has sacrificed great numbers of cattle, fattened calves and sheep, and has invited all the king's son, Abiathar the priest, and Joab the commander of your army. But he has not invited you or Solomon, your servant. My lord the king, the eyes of Israel are all on you to learn from you who will sit on the throne of my lord the king after him. Otherwise, as soon as my lord the king is laid to rest and die with his ancestors, I and my son Solomon will be treated as criminals. While she was still speaking with the king, Nathan the prophet, as promised, arrived. And the king was told, Nathan the prophet is here. So he went before the king and bowed with his face to the ground. Now we're going to skip ahead to now verse 28. And good morning, everybody who's joining us today on YouTube and on the Tracy Casey-Arnold page. We are in 1 Kings chapter 1, and we are now going to verse 28 to close it out. Verse 28 says, then King David called and said, call Bathsheba in for me. So Bathsheba came into the king's presence and stood before him. The king then took an oath. As surely as the Lord lives, who has delivered me out of every trouble, I will surely carry out this very day what I swore to you by the Lord, the God of Israel, that Solomon your son shall be king after me, and he will sit on my throne in my place. Then Bathsheba bowed down with her face to the ground, prostrating herself before the king, and said, may my lord King David live forever. King David said, call in Zadok the priest, Nathan the prophet, and Benaiah son of Jehoiada. When they came before the king, he said to them, take your Lord's servant with you, and have Solomon my son mounted on my own mule, and take him down to Gihon. There have Zadok the priest and Nathan the prophet anoint him over Israel. Blow the king's trumpet and shout, long live King Solomon. Then you are to go up with him, and he is to come and sit on my throne and reign in my place. I have appointed him ruler over Israel and Judah. Benaiah son of Jehoiada answered the king, amen. May the Lord, the God of my lord, the king, so declare it. As the Lord was with my king, the Lord, so may he be with Solomon, to make his throne even greater than the throne of my lord King David. So Zadok the priest, Nathan the prophet, Benaiah son of Jehoiada, the Ketherites and the Pelethites went down and had Solomon mounted on King David's mule, and they escorted him to Gihon. Zadok the priest took the horn of oil from the sacred tent and anointed Solomon as king. Then they sounded the king's trumpet, and all the people shouted, long live King Solomon. And all the people went up after him, playing pipes and rejoicing greatly, so that the ground shook with the sound. Adonijah and all his guests who were with him heard as they were finishing their feast. Remember, he's having a feast, claiming himself as king. On hearing the sound of the king's trumpet, Joab, who's the commander of David's army, who's hanging with his son, said, wait a minute, what's the meaning of all the noise in the city? Even as he was speaking, Jonathan, son of Abiathar, the priest, arrived. Adonijah said, come in. A worthy man like you must be bringing me good news. Oh yeah, he's bringing you news, all right. Jonathan answered, not at all. Our Lord King David has made Solomon king. The king has sent with him Zadok the priest, Nathan the prophet, Benaiah son of Jehoiada, the Kerethites and the Pelethites, and all that have come and put him on the king's mule. And Zadok the priest and Nathan the prophet have now anointed him as king at Gihon. From there they have gone up cheering, and the city resounds with it. That the noise you hear, hello, is Solomon being crowned king. Moreover, Solomon has taken his seat also on the royal throne. Also, the royal officials have come to congratulate our Lord, King David, saying, may your God make Solomon's name more famous than yours and his throne greater than yours. And the king bowed and worshiped on his bed and said, praise be to the Lord, the God of Israel, who has allowed my eyes to see a successor on my throne today. Y'all, I absolutely love 1 Kings chapter 1. And good morning, everybody who's joining us. Good morning, Virginia. Oh my goodness, I'm going to sit here and tell you, I love this message. You know, a couple things that I want to keep with my notes here. Number one, as we listen to 1 Kings chapter 1, we see David, who has been chosen by the Lord, who says, this is a man after my own heart, and has given him a promise that as long as you live and even after your death, one of your descendants will always sit on the throne over all of Israel, over all Jerusalem and Judah, over my people. And so he's made that promise to David. And here's David now in a position, in a moment, where this is his son. Adonijah's his son. Solomon's his son. Now imagine the position that David is in, where he's got two sons, one who is trying to take the throne, trying to take the crown, and the other son who's been promised that he will sit on the throne, where David gave his word to Bathsheba. And here's a moment now where David's getting news that Adonijah has gathered all his people, all his homies, with the exception of those that are loyal to David, because all of David's mighty men and Zadok and all of them, Benaiah, no, they didn't go. But his commander of his army, Joab, did. That's powerful. And then all these other people that people knew to be great people in the kingdom, those that were with David. So again, as we said 2 weeks ago, that if they're over here with Adonijah, then it must be so. That it must be, and that's what's going to happen. But I love what this story tells, because I'm going to sit here and tell you, there's always going to be somebody, family members, friends, colleagues, people up in your workplace, strangers even that you barely know, that are always going to be after your crown. The enemy is going to use every single person to take what the Lord said is yours. The enemy is always going to use people to come up in your kingdom, maybe even from within. Maybe even when you're at your weakest, when you're vulnerable, when you're sick, when you're emotional, when you've been hit hard by things in your life that's got you knocked down, to try to come up and take your crown, your promise, what God has for you. And in that moment, it is so important that you must know that you can't just sit back. You can't just allow that to happen. That you must, at all cost, you must take action. You cannot sit and allow somebody to come on up in your kingdom. Man, even do it in your house. Do it even at your job. Do it in your community, to come up and try to take what the Lord has given you, what the Lord has written to you. What he says is yours. You know, this reminds me of a moment in my life when I was building my company and I got it to a multitude of success. I mean, I built it in San Antonio and it was just gigantic. Then it started seeping over into Dallas, into Austin. And one of my very own clients that I'd made millions, that I'd made successful. Matter of fact, when I met him, he had just opened his practice. He hardly was seeing 2 or 3 people a day. And I remember when I met him, I was in the gym on a Stairmaster, jamming out to some Whitney Houston. I'd be on the Stairmaster moving like to the beat. I'd do a double step if it was a double beat, and then go. And I didn't care who was watching me. I didn't care who was laughing at me. This chick was getting fit, and I was doing it to some Whitney Houston. And he approached me when I got off that Stairmaster, and he says, I hear you're the woman that could help me. And I remember back then his arrogance. I should have known better, but I love challenges. And so he hired me and he put a challenge in front of me, said, I don't think you can do it. But little did he know what God had already written for me and had already promised for me, that I took that contract. And before you knew it, in 90 days, he went from seeing 2 to 3 people to seeing 40 to 50 people in one day. He went from barely making to being a millionaire and ultimately becoming a billionaire. But because of all these relationships that I got him in front of, all these corporate companies, all these organizations that had a relationship with me, and because I was the one with consulting, bringing in the business, that lo and behold, through jealousy, through greed, through him seeing that favor on me, him seeing what God was doing in me and how the people favored me, that he tried to take my company from me. This is a client that I served. This is like being somebody up in your house. It's like having a friend. That he started calling all my people, all my clients, started telling them that he now was the leader. And there were ones that went with him. There were ones that said, hey, listen, he's a doctor and you're not. We're going to go with him. There were ones that believed every single lie that he said, because he spoke louder, because he was definitely good looking. This dude was 6'2", good looking. And I was a woman, let alone a minority. And I did not have a DR before my name. And let me tell you, when he came in, he made a dent in my business. People that I'd been serving for years, left to go with him when he hadn't even served them but once. The people who didn't even know his name, who now knew his name because of my relationship, are now with him. And he took every single thing, like Adonijah, whatever it took, through festivals and parties to get people to see him as that person. And I remember sitting there, and somebody needs to hear this, thinking, Lord, this is not right. This is not fair. This is somebody who's doing unrighteous things that you're putting a crown on, and you're allowing me to be the one to suffer. Lord, when I've worked hard, I've built this company. But little did I know that the people coming trying to take your crown is always going to happen. The people that are going to try to confront you, that are going to try to backstab you, lie to you, that are jealous of you because they want what you have, is always going to happen. But what I didn't know is for God to say, step back, daughter, because what I have written, even though you're going to have backstabbers and you're going to have liars and you're going to have those that cheat and steal from you, those that come and smooze you, but behind your back, they're taking your stuff, that God says, let them take it, because my word and what I've said cannot be broken. And in that moment, I let it happen. I sat back and did nothing because I thought, I'm not big enough. I'm not strong enough. I don't have the accolades and the degree. My God, he was a force. He made a name for himself so big in San Antonio, there was no way that I could fight that. And then he had all these people partnered with him, and that no matter what he said, no matter what he did, they believed him versus believing who they knew I was. But God. But in those moments, it was more important, instead of me sitting back and doing nothing, that I got up and then I fought. And then I started to stand in who I was. That I started to work in taking back what was already mine. And in this moment, we see that everybody, several people, from Bathsheba to Zadok the priest to even David, had a responsibility to not just sit there and let it happen. Number one, we see that there is a responsibility that you have to know that you've got when it comes to your life and what God has for you. You just can't let people do you wrong. You can't just let people lie and backstab you. You can't just say, well, I'm not going to worry about it. God's got it. No, just as we studied last week, God says, I need for you to go first and then I will. I need for you to step out and then I will. God needs for you to stand. Because standing is a sign that you know who he is and that you know what he's going to do. By you leaning back and just letting people come and rob you like that, letting them literally tarnish your name, tarnish your credibility. Man, put havoc in your life to where you can't even eat, you can't even sleep. You're so stressed, take your peace away. God says that's not what I've written for you. And if you believe in who I am, then you'll stand up. And you will do what is necessary to make sure no one comes like a thief in the night and try to take what I've given you. And that you stand in faith to know that daddy ain't going to let it ever prevail. And I'm going to sit here and tell you and fast forward many years later. Because lo and behold, my dad came in like a storm with that doctor and flatlined him through the woman that he married that was helping him attack me. Let me tell you what, God did the same thing from within his own organization, in his own house, his own wife, to take him down. And he's had challenges ever since. And every single thing that enemy took from me, God has replaced it. He has given it back tenfold. He restored my name and my credibility. And those that were with him, let me tell you what, I drew the line and stay with them. And those that knew and that were faithful, I even had people working for me that were shaking in their legs and their boots because they believed him because of who he was. I mean, I had to draw that line and say, look, I can't have that on my team. I can't have that in my company. You either stand with me and believe and do what is right and what is righteous, or you're over there with the enemy. David had a responsibility to act. David had a responsibility that even on his deathbed, he still needed to do what was right because of him being still a king of God. He needed to not just sit back, and he had to get wisdom and knowledge to know, I'm not going to call Adonijah to me and ask him what he's doing. I'm just going to fix the problem. I'm just going to solve the issue. I'm just going to correct it. He can have all the parties he wants to up at his clubhouse, and whoever he's hanging with, they can stay there, but I'm still king. I'm not dead yet. And even if I've got to go and do it on my deathbed and send other people to go do it in my name, he had to send Benaiah and Zadok to go do it for him because David couldn't get out of the bed. He even had to have a virgin to keep him warm. But he knew who he was even in that moment of weakness. And he knew he had to act. Bathsheba knew she had to act. She knew what was happening with Adonijah was not what David had promised, and she was going to hold him to what was right and what he said, and even hold him to his accountability to God to do what was right. That she knew she needed to confront him, and that she needed to say something. Zadok the priest knew that he could not allow unrighteous to happen in the kingdom because he's held accountable by God for what he allows King David to do and not speak up. Each one of them had a responsibility and an action that they had to do in that moment versus just sitting back and letting the enemy and letting those that hate you, that are jealous of you, that want what you have because they don't have that oil on them. They don't have that anointment on them. And there's many people that see what God is doing in your life, that see what he's blessing you with, that want what you have. And their way of trying to get you is to backstab you, talk bad about you, make you feel like you're not even that person, even want to maybe confront you and tell you to your face and cause havoc all in your mind and your heart so that you'll go and falter. You'll go and lay down and do nothing. And God says, you better not. You better remember who you are. You're my king and you're my queen. And I've written something that cannot be broken. And I don't care what the story says. I don't care what it looks like. I don't care how powerful they are or how mighty they are or how rich they are or how many accolades they have or how successful they've been. And you saying you're not. I don't care because what I've written, and I'm Lord and I'm God, cannot be undone. But the thing that I need you to do is you must fight, you must stand, and not just lay down and take it. Because you're mine. And every single one of us in those moments must fight. Don't just sit back. God gave strategy to David as to know how to do it. God gave strategy to Zadok the priest to tell her and Bathsheba, hey, let me tell you how this needs to go down. You need to go in first, and then I'll have your back. I'll go in after you because David will know that what you're saying is true. You need to think about it. You need to go to the Lord and ask him, Lord, how do I handle this? And not just go do anything. David could have flown off the handle. David could have gotten enraged. David could have confronted him. But David knew in that moment, let me take a moment and let me consult with my God. Lord, we're going to fix this and we must deal with it. Lord, how do I deal? How do I fix it? But I ain't sitting here and taking it. And like we said last week, and then sometimes you need to call down to God and say, Lord, I'm going to go out and fight this. But I know with who I am, I can't win this, Lord, but you can. This is your fight. I'm going to step out in faith and believe that you've got it. I don't care what I lose Because Lord, I know anything I lose, anything I go through, Lord, you say if the enemy takes it, then you'll replace it times 10. So I'm looking for my future. Lord, I'm going to sit here and tell you the things that God has done in my life. I not only had one person, I had another person, made him money. He did the same thing in my whole town. Lied and said I took his money, even though I'm the one who made him money. But even in then, God said, don't you worry. You keep stepping out on faith. You keep claiming who I am and who you are to me, and watch what I will do. The Lord has never, ever allowed my reputation. I don't care what he said about me. Matter of fact, a couple years later, got an accolade being the top business consulting firm in all of Texas. God will protect you. God will fight your battle for you, but you must not sit there, no matter how big the giant is, and let even your own son or your own daughter come up in your kingdom, in your house, and take what the Lord has for you. This is the message today. You don't let a doctor come and take your health and tell you that you're going to be sick and it's your time. No, you stand on the word of God. You don't let somebody in your workplace cause a havoc over here, gossip about you, trying to get people to think something about you. No, you go consult with God. And at all costs, God has said it now for 2 weeks, from last Friday to this Friday. I have this, the battle is mine. But you must go forward and make your stand. So you guys be blessed. Hope this message has blessed you. Please make sure you share it, because I believe that people are going through some things right now, and instead of them laying down flat, they must get back up, put the gloves on, and get at it and stand in who God is and call him down like the rain of fire, like I said 3 weeks ago, and let him deal. But we must take our position. You guys, I love you. Have a blessed weekend. And I will see you on Monday for a Monday movement as we talk about how Stella or Stan got their groove back. Bye-bye, you guys. I love you.